Jai Baba. Nothing is real but God. Nothing matters but love for God. God is the only reality. Nothing all else that seems real is illusory. God and I are one. Meher Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Thanks to beloved Baba and Jai Baba to all of you. By Baba's grace, we are on the last chapter of the beams from Meher Baba on the spiritual panorama. The chapter is named From Eternity to Eternity. And this is session number 10, and we are reading page number 79.
His long drawn sojourn through the wilderness of dual existence is a story of repeated blunders, ever tightening the grip of ignorance on his consciousness. An easy prey to the guiles of Mayavic mirage, he gets enmeshed in its clutches. He goes astray in the feverish dreams of his vitiated imagination with little prospect of launching on his homeward journey.
Okay. His long drawn sojourn. Sojourn, we take it as a travel, but it could be a temporary residential place, a temporary abode. But we use that word as a arduous travel through the wilderness, through the jumble of dual existence, is a story of repeated blunders, ever tightening the grip of ignorance on his consciousness. An easy prey to the guiles of Mayavic mirage. Deceit. Maya is very deceitful. He gets enmeshed in its clutches. He goes astray in the feverish dreams of his vitiated imagination, vitiated, perverted, debased imagination, with little prospect of launching on his homeward journey. We are here to get back home, that is to God, but we get so enmeshed in the Mayavic mirage that we forget that we are here in order to reach home.
However, by a stroke of good luck, which is God's grace, he may stumble upon an exit through these mazes and get a glimmer of the limitlessness of the real.
Okay, because this is a very important, in a sense, entry point of God, I would say, tapping each one and saying, okay, you've been roaming around a bit too long, here you are. He just opens up a window and says, go from this. Otherwise, if that was not there, I think we would all be groping for eternity. So in spite of the fact that we have been groping, there is an element of God's grace. However, by a stroke of good luck, which is God's grace, he may stumble upon an exit through these mazes and get a glimmer of the limitlessness of the real. And I think that is a very focal point, that irrespective of how debased we are, how lost we are, there is this element of grace, and which I assume he lavishly showers upon each one of us.
But just at this juncture, he proves vulnerable to the temptation of becoming a pretentious and preposterous claimant, sailing under false colors and arrogating to himself the truth of his dim perception. It is an abortive attempt at seizing the truth.
Okay, go ahead.
It is an abortive attempt at seizing the truth. He only succeeds in being a magniloquent imitation, puffed up with invalid claims. He encroaches upon the fields of the real saints, bluffing each and all whom he meets. But he is thereby only fooling himself, and he moves further into the grips of the false.
Okay. But at this juncture, when a sight is opened by the grace of God, by the touch of God, we start seeing something beautiful. We start seeing maybe some colors, smells, sounds, So, but at this juncture, he proves vulnerable to the temptation of becoming a pretentious and preposterous claimant. Preposterous, absurd, outrageous, ridiculous claimant, sailing under the false colors and arrogating to himself means assuming that I am a very privileged person, like that, arrogating to himself the truth of his deemed perception.
Dim
The
perception.
sorry?
Dim perception.
Dim perception. The perception is very dim, but he gives it a lot of color and overemphasizes it, aggrandizes it. It is an abortive attempt at seizing the truth, an attempt which is bound to fail, which is bound to be unsuccessful. It is an abortive attempt at seizing the truth. He only succeeds in being a magniloquent would mean very pompous, high sounding, boastful. He boasts about himself. Uh, Magniloquent imitation, puffed up with an invalid claim. There is no claim, it's all invalid, he just puffs up. He encroaches upon the fields of the real saints, bluffing each and all whom he meets. But he is thereby only fooling himself, and he moves further into the grips of the false.
Only the intercession of some compassionate master can initiate him into the real and arduous path. This path also consists of 7 stations or planes. See the chart,
See the chart.
planes, depicting the 7 upward steps or
Chart,
planes to be climbed with the eye of consciousness now fully open.
Only the intercession means intervention, helpful intervention of some compassionate master can initiate him into the real and arduous path. Arduous would mean strenuous, difficult, laborious. This path also consists of 7 stations or planes. Now, Baba, when we see the chart, we'll have a glance at the chart. There are 7 downward steps and there are 7 upward steps. The 7 downwards are the evolutionary process. The 7 upward are the involutionary process. And obviously the involution starts once full consciousness is achieved. This part also consists of 7 stations or planes. See the chart depicting the 7 upward steps or planes to be climbed with the eye of consciousness now fully opened. The chart is not very elaborate. Basically, it shows that you're going down, coming all the way down to the human stage, and then you take a U-turn and go back to God. That's basically what the chart is talking about.
The
Yeah.
emanation of the world is, as it were, a descent from the navel of a man along one leg. The reincarnations of the soul in human form are a wandering into the wilderness of Maya, illusion, between the 2 legs of a man, and the onward ascent of consciousness through the planes to the realization of the original infinite beyond is like the slow and gradual ascent of an ant along the other leg back to the navel from which the creation started. The navel represents the home point of creation. After transcending this point, the duality of the creator and creation is sublated. The portion above the navel is like the beyond, whereas there is conscious enjoyment of the shoreless ocean of divinity.
Where there is.
Where there is.
Where there is gone. Okay. See how beautifully Baba is explaining. The emanation of the world, how it got created, originated, issued forth. The emanation of the world is, as it were, a descent from the navel of a man along one leg. That is the emanation. The reincarnation of the soul in human form are a wandering in the wilderness, tangle, jumble of Maya, illusion, between the 2 legs of a man and the onward ascent of consciousness, which means the involutionary process, the planes of consciousness, through the planes of to the realization of the original infinite beyond, is like the slow and gradual ascent of an ant along the other leg back to the navel. It starts from the navel, comes down one leg, then you have reincarnation and then involution. The navel represents the Om point of creation. After transcending this point, that means after coming back to this point, the duality of the creation, creator and creation is sublated. Sublated means annihilated, cut off, denied, it's over. Because you become God realized. The portion above the navel is like the beyond, where there is conscious enjoyment of the shoreless ocean of divinity. Because once you get God realization, you experience infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss.
In the gross world, as well as in the inner planes, places, states, and experiences are interlinked with each other and yet should be regarded as separate from each other. This is particularly true of the lower planes. Places, states, and experiences all tend to be fused with each other on the higher planes, and the trio as trio disappears in the unitary realization of the seventh plane.
Now, Baba will explain later on what are these planes, places, states, and experiences. I don't think this requires any explanation.
Let us see how places, states, and experiences are interlinked with each other in the gross world as well as on the inner planes. Suppose you go for a while to Pratapgarh. This change of place brings with it a change of state in you.
Like how when you go on a holiday, there's a change of place. And when there's a change of place, there's a change of state within you. You feel joyful, you feel happy about it.
Your general tone of mind is different. At Pratapgarh, you will also have experiences which you would not get at another place.
So each place that you go, there is a change of state and there is a change of experience.
Change of place brings in its train a change in the state of mind, and both of these result in a change in the nature of experiences felt at this new place. Just as a change of place in the physical world is linked with changes in the mental state and gathered experiences, an ascent to a plane also brings about changes in stages and experiences.
So Baba explained the physical plane, the gross world. In similar sense, when you traverse the inner spiritual path, at that time also you will have a change of place, a change of the state of mind, and a change of experience.
An ascent to a plane means a change in the standing ground of consciousness. It is a change of place. It therefore brings with it the changes in states and experiences. But the changing states and experiences which accrue from the change of plane are radically different from the changing states and experiences which accrue from wandering in the gross world. The qualitative difference is enormous. However, in the planes also, we have the interlinking of places, states, and experiences, all these remaining separate from each other up to a particular point only.
So what Baba is trying to convey is that qualitatively, the inner world or the involutionary journey is very different from the gross. And therefore, irrespective of how we stretch our imagination, it is not something more finer or more, better. No, it's a totally qualitative difference, which Baba says that it is very different from the gross physical world. The moment you enter the spiritual path, you have gone into a change of place, and with the change of place, you will find the change of state of mind, you will find the change of experiences, and they are quite separate or diverse at the initial stages. And as we progress in the spiritual path, as we go from third to fourth, fourth to fifth, the so-called separation or the differentiation becomes narrower and narrower.
How the places, states, and experiences tend to get fused into each other, and how their initial separateness comes to be gradually obliterated, may be illustrated by an example which does not involve a change of plane but which consists merely of a change of state within the normal range of gross conscious souls. When a gross conscious person has a dream, he has, as in his waking state, an experience of some place and also of some mental state and experience associated with it.
So what Baba is trying to convey is, when we are dreaming, when we are dreaming, apparently we experience a change of place, and because of that experience, there is a change. Sometimes when we dream beautiful dreams, we wake up with such high spirits, and sometimes when we go through a nightmare, we are all down. So change of, even in dream, Baba says change of place affects your change of state and experiences.
But the place, mental state, and experience with which a person is confronted in his dream do not have the same externality or separateness which characterize them in wakefulness.
In wakefulness, there is a distinct separation between the change of place and the change of state and the change of experiences. But Baba says, but the place, mental state and experience with which a person is confronted in his dream do not have the same externality or separateness which characterizes them in wakefulness.
It will be very artificial and even misleading if we try to separate the place in the dream from the state and the experience connected with it, though such separateness presents us with no difficulty when we are concerned with the place, state, and experience in gross conscious wakefulness.
My understanding is that in dream we really do not have any control. It just comes. Some dream comes, it will take us to some place, it will give us some elation or otherwise, vice versa, and the experience. So Baba says it would be very difficult for us to separate the place and the state and the experience in a dream when compared to the possibility of separating it in wakefulness.
The example of the dream is merely suggestive of how a place need not invariably stand outside the state and its experiences.
Like in dream, it does not invariably stand outside. It is all inclusive. But in a physical form, in a wakeful, so-called false awake state, that possibility is there to separate between the place, the state, and the experience.
However, what happens in a transition to another plane of consciousness is very different from what happens in the dream. In the divine hallucinations of the subtle planes, as well as in the spiritual nightmare of the mental plane, there is a growing tendency towards fusion of the experiences which are normally separated from each other in gross wakefulness.
In other words, what Baba talks the inner planes, he calls them divine hallucination. Just as how we are in illusion right now, similarly they are also in illusion. But Baba even calls it a divine dream. That's a divine dream. And what we dream is a dream within a dream. So Baba says here, it is very different from what happened. However, what happens in a transition to another plane of consciousness, from first to second, second to third, is very different from what happens in the dream. In the divine hallucinations of the subtle planes, as well as the spiritual nightmare of the mental plane, Baba calls the mental plane spiritual nightmare. I can't explain why he is called that way. One possibility could be that in the mental plane, in the fifth plane, you are able to get a blurred vision of God. And obviously, there is a longing to become one, but the vision is blurred. In the sixth plane, which is the plane of the Pir, the fifth is known as the plane of the Wali. And in Vedantic terms, Baba calls it Mahapurush, fifth, and Satpurush, sixth. Why Satpurush? Because he can see Sat, or he can see the truth. And in Christian mysticism, Baba combines both these as saints. Uh, okay, so once you, why the nightmare? This is my assumption, that we are so, there's so much of longing after seeing the beauty and the tej or the noor of God in everyone and everything, and yet we are not able to become one. It's like a nightmare. You want it, but you can't reach there. Perhaps that's the reason why I have not read anywhere else any other explanation, so I can't explain. So spiritual nightmare of the mental plane, there is a growing tendency towards fusion of experiences which are normally separated from each other in gross wakefulness. In other words, my understanding would be, the more you progress spiritually, as I had said earlier, the less differences you see and more tolerant you become. Now here there is no question of tolerance, I would say. It's like a spoke of a wheel which are very much separated at the circumference, and as we come closer and closer to the axle, it becomes lesser. So in other words, what Baba is trying to say, that the experiences are coming closer and closer. You don't see the separateness in the experiences.
In fact, the integral fusion on the seventh plane is so complete that there we cannot have any places, states, or experiences.
See, when you become one with God, there is no question of places, you become that place. There is no question of state, you are that state. You are one with everyone and everything. So there is no question of this separation at all.
Life there is lived only in its indivisibility. The illusion which gives room for changing places, states, and experiences has itself disappeared on the seventh plane of realization.
That is the plane of unison, that is the plane of unitariness, that is the plane of Advait, that is the plane of oneness, where there is no dui or duality. You alone exist. And you exist not as a drop of the ocean or drop in the ocean. Obviously not drop in the ocean, because you already burst the bubble of illusion or ignorance. But you experience yourself as the ocean.
But as long, yes.
No mic today. Never mind, I'll repeat the question. Don't worry. Once you become one with God, there is only one. There is no dui. Fifth plane, there is a duality. Fifth plane. Okay, I'll tell you. Duality persists, illusion persists, ignorance persists, mind persists till you merge with God. So on the sixth plane, the duality is not that, like how for me the duality is, I am seeing millions of people separate from me. But in the sixth plane, there are only two, I and only God. So it is narrowing down. It is narrowing down. Yeah, no, it doesn't apply at all. Once you become one with God, there is only oneness.
But as long as the mind exists, the illusion also exists, even up to the very sixth
It's
plane.
given here, yeah.
Although the type of illusion which exists on each plane may be different.
See, the illusion is illusion. It is a play of Maya. Maya is the principle of ignorance. Maya creates illusion. So on the sixth plane also, the illusion is that I am separate from God and there is a deep, you can say, chasm, abyss, valley, whatever you call it. And you can see everyone and everything as God, but you cannot see yourself as God. That is the final. And elsewhere, somewhere I have read that, and that seeing is not actually the type of gross seeing. It is the feeling of seeing God in everyone and everything. And it is seen through your, whatever you call it, inner eye, third eye, spiritual eye. It's like, and that eye is also an illusion. That is the last residual vestige of illusion. And once that eye goes, that means the mind goes. Even on the sixth plane, the sixth planer, who is a Satpurush or a Peer, experiences everything through the mind and not through the self. The mind is existent even till that stage, high, very, very lofty, supreme stage. But once that I is gone, it means not only the I as this I, but even the limited separative I is false I goes, then he becomes one with God. Yes, the category of duality gradually diminishes, becomes less and less, and then finally it is. So here, as long as the mind exists, the illusion also exists. Even up to the very sixth plane, although the type of illusion which exists on each plane may be different.
Mind is subject to imagination. It imagines and experiences imagination through places and states which imagination creates. So long as mind exists, imagination also persists, and the imaginary places, planes, states, and experiences also continue to engage the mind. Just as in the gross world, there are places, states, and experiences, there are imaginary places, states, and experiences on the subtle and mental planes. Yet, in both cases, they belong to the illusion created by imagination.
In other words, all that we are experiencing through the medium of the mind is imagination, is an illusion. Everything. The quality of imagination and the quality of illusion may differ, but nonetheless, it is all an illusion. That's why Baba says, whatever that can be understood is not God. God can never be understood. If I say, oh, I understand, no, that means you have not understood. So it's like that. And that is why God, Baba's statement, these are Baba's words, God is and Godhood begins where imagination ends. Godhood begins would mean starting from, say, Fana, Fana Fila, Baka, Baka Bila, and then you become Kutub. That way means Mazub, Salik, and then the perfect master or the Kutub. That Godhood begins. Your wife is smiling when I said Salik. She knows. Huh? Okay. So God is and Godhood begins where imagination ends.
However, when the illusion exists, there are within it six ingredients, namely time, space, law, nature, cause, and effect. Of these six factors, law and nature are most important.
So wherever illusion exists, and everything is an illusion, unless, that's why, and all experiences that we go through, the happiest and the so-called most horrible, they are in the domain of illusion, which means they are not really existent. They are just, they appear to exist that way. You can say that way. And so Baba says, however, when the illusion exists, there are within its six ingredients. Within the illusion, there are six ingredients: time, space, law, nature, cause, and effect. Of these six factors, law and nature are most important. Hmm.
Evolution depends on these six factors, and its working is clock like and without any deviation because of the unfailing interplay of these six factors. Although illusion is the product of imagination, the evolutionary working within that illusion goes on exactly as it should. The determinism is complete.
In other words, okay, these are the six factors. Evolution, we all know what evolution is. Depends on these six factors, and its working is clock-like. In other words, I'm just trying to imagine, I can't imagine. Imagine the wisdom and the intelligence of the creator of this creation, how mastermind, he has put these things into effect, and then it takes its own course. He doesn't have to really meddle with it or interfere with it. It just taking place. Clockwork precision, clock-like. And without any deviation, because of the unfailing interplay of these six factors. Although illusion is the product of imagination, when we are sleeping, when we are in sound sleep state, the mind is in abeyance. It's not gone. It's not manonash. It's not annihilated. It is in abeyance. It is resting. There are no thoughts. There is no imagination at that time. So although illusion is the product of imagination, the evolutionary working within that illusion goes on exactly as it should. The determinism is complete. That means it is so methodical, it is so clock-like that there can be no deviation.
On the seventh plane, the mind does not exist. Hence, there are no places, states, nor experiences in God realization, just as such places, states, and experiences are absent in the infinite unconsciousness.
1 minute. Infinite unconsciousness we have at two places. One is in the beyond state of God, state one of God, Baba refers to in God Speaks, which is the Paratpar Parbrahma state, Ulvara state, or the beyond state of God. And when we go into sound sleep, there is no mind. But it is not manonash, as I said, it is only temporarily at rest. So here Baba says, on the seventh plane, the mind does not exist, obviously. Hence, there are no places, states, nor experiences in God realization, just as such places, states, and experiences are absent in the infinite unconsciousness.
What exists in God realization of the seventh plane is just uninterrupted and indivisible consciousness without any form of burden or limitation.
So what exists in the seventh plane, in the state of God realization, in the state of self-realization, when we experience the Aham Brahmasmi state or the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, what happens is there is the continuous consciousness. You don't lose consciousness. That's why Baba says that if you can go or enter into the sound sleep state without losing consciousness, then that is equivalent to God realization. But what happens with us is the moment we are slowly, mind is getting, slowed down, and then in one moment we become unconscious. When we become unconscious, we are experiencing bliss, actually. There is no such thing as mother-in-law, sister-in-law in that sound sleep state. There is no some naughty son, daughter, nothing. Husband, wife, nobody exists. But if we are in that sound sleep state with full consciousness, then that is God realization. You were asking something, you said. You got it. Okay.
With his back to the false and evanescent, and his gaze firmly fixed on the goal of shoreless divinity, an aspirant traverses the path through spiritual planes with security if he has the help of a master of wisdom.
Baba has said that a master of wisdom would obviously mean a perfect master or a Sadguru. Without the help of a perfect master, you cannot reach the final goal. You can go up to the sixth plane, but you can't transcend from the sixth to the seventh. With his back to the false, and evanescence means fleeting, quickly fading, and his everything here is evanescent, everything here is impermanent, quickly fading, and his gaze firmly fixed on the goal of shoreless divinity, an aspirant traverses the path through spiritual planes with security if he has the help of a master of wisdom. Elsewhere, Baba says, if you really want God, really, I don't know, most of us say, I am seeking, I am a seeker, I am in search of God. I can't say for others, but I may say it, but I am not. Baba says, if you really want God, then you must want God alone. Then you will reach. That means the focus has to be only God. You should not be distracted, affected, irritated, agitated, disturbed by anything that comes in your life because your focus is only God. No, focus. In seventh plane, you don't need to focus. You become the focus. Okay. Correct. But that's what I'm saying. If you can't do that at the lower stages and be focused on God, then you can reach that goal very fast, particularly if you have the active help and support and guidance of a perfect master. Or the avatar, who's the eternal living perfect master. Whether he is in the physical body or not, he is always available to humanity.
And when he sheds his illusion completely, he finds that his mysterious sojourn has been from eternity to eternity, from God to himself.
At the end of the journey, what do you find? You find that you yourself are the beloved whom you were seeking. The lover and the beloved becomes one. And that's why Baba many times says, that there is nothing that I have to give you because you are already that. All that I need to do is to give you that knowledge that you are that, experiential knowledge, not bookish knowledge. And for that, I have to take away what you are not. We are already God plus the samskaric burden of impressions, the samskars, the impression. There is nothing that we keep speaking this, that spirituality is not a gathering or amassing or accumulation or getting something from outside. It is an unfoldment from within. It's already there. All you need to do is to remove what the unwanted parts. That's all.
But it is not an arrival at the same point. In the shoreless divinity of the eternal reality, there are no dividing points or lines. So you cannot call it a return. It is a return only in the sense of his having realized his initial limitlessness, but not a return to some imagined point or terminus.
Because it is all one. So there is no such thing as, although we do say that it's a journey from unconscious divinity to conscious divinity. We do say that you enter the same spot from where you exit, but with a world of difference, and that difference is when we exited, there was no consciousness or very rudimentary consciousness, and when you take the whole round of evolution, reincarnation, involution, and realization, the difference is at the point of exit, there was no or rudimentary consciousness. At the point of return, there is full consciousness of the I am God state. But Baba says there is no such thing as point because it's all one unit, as we say in Advait, it's all indivisible one, all encompassing one. There is no question of time, there is no question of lateral time like past, present, and future, because actually nothing is happening, nothing has happened. That's what Baba is saying. So, and we cannot appreciate that. Appreciate in the sense, accept it. How can we perceive that? How can we understand that? Because it's a subject beyond the limits of the mind. That's why Baba says that mind is finite and God is infinite. Mind wants to know that which is beyond mind. For mind to know that which is beyond mind, mind has to go. Mind has to be completely annihilated. Only then we will be able to know that which is beyond mind. And that means we have to eradicate all the impressions, all the samskaras that we have accumulated in the mind.
It has been a flight from eternity to eternity.
It is from eternity to it, that's the chapter. Huh?
From the shoreless divinity to the shoreless divinity, from the unending to the unending. It is a fulfillment that can never become stale. No one may put the seal of finis on the story of the invincible eternal, but everyone may disappear in it and share its unending and ineffable glory. Through the incident of imaginary creation, God overtakes himself only to discover that he is limitless in all dimensions.
Can you believe it? What? That we have finished the book. I was so grossly, terribly wrong
I told you this.
in thinking that we will take one more turn, and we were organizing with Meher Rochit to help us out because tomorrow there's a concert. Anyway, so let's read this last. See what words Baba is using. I'll just read the whole thing since we have the time. It has been a flight from eternity to eternity, from the shoreless divinity to the shoreless divinity, from the unending to the unending. Because we are talking about God who is beginless beginning, from beginless beginning, and will remain from to endless end. It is a fulfillment when you reach that can never become stale. It is ever fresh. It is always, see, when we talk about freshness and staleness, we are talking about duality. We are also talking sometimes about time. This rose is so beautiful and fresh. After 15 days, it has crumbled and it has dried out. We are talking about time, past and future. But in eternity, there is no time. So it will always remain fresh. It is a fulfillment that can never become stale. No one may put the seal of finish, the end. Finish means the end. On this story. What is the story? Of the invincible eternal. Invincible, impossible to defeat, impossible to overcome. The correct perhaps word could be indestructible. That is always there. It was there, it is there, it will always remain. So no one can put the seal of finish on this story of the invincible eternal. But everyone may disappear in it. Everyone would mean every individual, separative, self-centered, finite soul can disappear in it and share its unending and ineffable glory. Ineffable would mean indescribable, beyond words, unimaginable, can't be put to words. Ineffable glory. Through the incident of imaginary creation, God overtakes himself. Because in the earlier stages we have seen, in God Speaks we did, that there is unconscious divinity, and unconscious divinity now starts or makes an attempt at overtaking and becoming one with the conscious divinity. So at the end of the journey, through the incident of imaginary creation, God overtakes himself only to discover that he is limitless in all dimensions. Not just limitless in one dimension, in every respect. In other words, He is limitless, infinite. That's the final. So we sincerely thank Baba for having given us this opportunity to read his words in God Speaks first and then in Beams. We took that side by side because, as I had explained earlier, as I had informed earlier, that this book came into existence because at the time of getting the book into a print, the editors, more particularly Murshida Ivy Dews, had many questions. So she had posed these questions to beloved Baba, and Baba had been kind enough to give the explanatory note, and that is what formed the beams. So thank you, beloved Baba. Thanks to all of you. And the important thing is that we are reading Baba's words. And Baba himself has conveyed that whenever he utters, I am using inverted commas, utters, because he was not speaking, either through the alphabet board or through gestures. When it comes from the source of truth, every word has like a potential, like a spiritual bomb, you know. And when we work with those words, somewhere it will benefit us, even if we do not understand what Baba is trying to convey. That's what Baba has said to Don Stevens, and Don said that this is what he heard from Baba, that it has that potential of doing something inside which will help. My personal take on working with words is not just speaking and explaining and understanding, and my take is that living those words, because at the end of the day, what is important is that we internalize it and we apply that in our day-to-day living, which perhaps would make the most difference between what we were before reading Baba's words and what we may become after reading Baba's words. If anybody has any questions, otherwise, जैसे school में बच्चे लोग को ting ting ting, today the school is off early. अरे बाबा, I know. What do you mean?
Experiential knowledge.
Okay. What do you mean by experiential knowledge? See, Baba says there are three types of knowledge. One is the intellectual knowledge or the intellectual conviction or intellectual understanding. Intellectually we are understanding, which is the basic, very base. Baba never gave, sorry?
School.
Yeah, okay, yeah. This is intellectual knowledge. The second is knowledge through sight. Now intellectual knowledge is we know God exists. I have not seen in that sense God as God, you know. So that is intellectual understanding or intellectual conviction or intellectual knowledge. Those who are on the spiritual planes will get the hawa, Baba calls it hawa, or the breeze that God exists. And there, it is there that the search for God becomes more conscious. I don't know, but as I said, I can only speak for myself. Whether are we really seeking God, or we are seeking pleasure and we are seeking the things of the world. You see? So in the inner spiritual part, it is like, oh yes, you have got rid of all your gross samskaras. That means you are serious about the search of God, and that is why now you are promoted to plane one. Let's put it that way. So now the search becomes more conscious. First, second, third, fourth, fifth plane, like that. In the sixth plane, fifth, as I said, blurred. In the sixth, the experience or the knowledge is through sight. You actually see God. It is not an intellectual knowledge. It's a knowledge through actually seeing God in everyone and everything. Even that knowledge is not complete or real. And the third knowledge is the experiential knowledge, when you become one with God and you experience that not only God exists, but I am God. So that is the experiential knowledge.
Seventh.
Sixth is you still see. between, no, sixth is when you are convinced of God's existence through sight. And the seventh is you actually become one with God and experience. You become knowledge itself. Like Baba said, there is no dui or duality between the knower and the process of knowing, and there is something to be known. If that remains, then there is a duality.
Sixth is that.
Sixth is that.
You
When
see,
you
but
become
you
one
are
with
not
God,
become one.
you become knowledge
Seventh,
itself.
you become one. It's
Nothing. Time pass. I had said this before, but I don't mind repeating since we have the time. Baba only asked, what do you mean when I say I am infinite knowledge? So people said a lot of things. It means you know everything. Somebody said, it means you know what I thought, say, 10,000 lifetimes before, or what I will think 10,000, whatever, X number of lifetimes. That means you know all, you are all knowing. That means like. Then Baba said something which is so superb, brilliant. Infinite knowledge means that there is nothing to know. There is nothing to know. Because if there is something to know, that means the knowledge is incomplete. When you are infinite knowledge, which means you are knowledge itself, which means there is nothing to know. There is nothing which is left to know. How beautiful. Agreed? All right. Any questions? So, chutti ho gaya. All right. I am still toying with the idea. Okay, anyway, I am making this so-called announcement that there won't be any reading. Obviously, there's nothing to read. So there won't be a session on Sunday. So you all got a holiday on Sunday. Need not sit at your homes to see this or come here and experience the beauty of Baba's presence here and at home. No, 1 minute, let me continue, others I'll forget. I tend to forget. No. I'm still toying with the idea of what book should I take. I'm not sure whether we should take smaller books like Everything and Nothing, Life at its Best, or Path of Love, Sparks, Treasures. They all have Baba's beautiful message. Or jump into the discourses, or take another book which is again heavy. Both these books were very heavy. In a sense, God Speaks and Beams, in a sense. Many people may find it very easy. There's another book called In God's Hand, which is also a superb book. So I'm not quite sure. So we are leaving for Mumbai. So when we'll just think it over.
which he is not crystallized.
My thoughts are not yet crystallized. Which one?
Something you had never read before.
We've read, I think we've read everything that Baba had mentioned. No? I'm not talking about something that somebody said about Baba, no. I'm talking about Baba's own words. And we try to focus only on that area of Baba's words. So anyway, all right. I don't want to get into that. Because there are some very good books, but anyway. All right, so then thank you, Baba. Thanks once again. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Jai Baba. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Rochit. Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you, Naman. And thank you, Farzeen, for coming and helping us all the time. Huh? Thank you. Jai Baba. Thank you. Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Sorry. I was thinking that, basically, the session got over early because I did not go into the Devi. I sometimes, when I speak something, then I go elsewhere. Gumne ko jata hu main. I say, but something to do with Baba only. But today I had to say, no, not Gumne ka nahi hai, because I want to finish this. because after 2 days we are going to Bombay. So did not want this to be incomplete. Yeah, yeah. You were right.
I told
You were right. Soumya was right. I accept. I accept. I am okay with grooming, and I always say, you need a CNG or a petrol or a diesel for the car to run. If you want my car to run for Gumofy, you have to ask me questions. If you ask me questions, then I get spirited. Then I get spirited. If there are no questions, what can I say?
how do you long more and more for? Oh my God!
Before you married Ashima, were you longing for her? Then how come you got married? Yeah, just like that. Acha, acha. She was longing, I think. Like somebody asked the same question to Baba, how can we love? The Baba asked, are you married? So yeah. How do you love your wife? What is your wife's name? Some name, let us say Gayatri. So do you do Nam Jap? Gayatri, Gayatri, Gayatri. No, you know. So that way it is so spontaneous that you make him the central focus of all your thoughts, speech and words. And it's a practice. Like Baba says, think of things you will not hesitate to think in my presence. Speak words you will not hesitate to speak in my presence. And do X you will not hesitate to do in my presence. What does it mean? It means that indirectly Baba is saying, keep me and keep my presence in you all the time. And when you keep his presence, automatically you start associating with him, internal dialogue with him, talking with him, and you make him a part of your life. And that is how you start. That is the starting of loving him. And the more you do that, the more we experience his presence in our life. He's guiding us, he's goading us. I am going this way, he would very gently catch me and say, go this way. So that will be experience that his presence is very much there in our life. And once you know, oh, Baba is with me, then you start loving, you start thanking, you show your gratitude towards him for whatever he has done. And then gradually it grows. That's how I would feel is you start longing for him. Longing will come much later. First you start that. You see? And then when Baba talks about divine love and longing, he's talking about at the sixth plane. At the sixth plane, that is why Baba says, love is a gift from God to man. That love, which will be given as a gift, and that gift is very rarely given. Only to those people whom Baba feels he will be able to withhold that gift, Because once you get that gift, nothing interests you. The world is not interested. You are not interested in the world. You are not interested in your wife. You are not interested in anything connected with the world. Your focus is on God. You are totally gone case. For people, you are mad. You are gone. So, but whether we have the capacity to play that role of a lover, only then the beloved will give that gift to you. And Baba says, when the gift is given, you become like a fish flopping out of water. When you take out a fish and put it in flopping out of water, wanting to go back into the ocean. So that kind of longing, burning should be there to become one with Baba. That comes at a very big. Here we are all in a Bhelpuri mixture. We like this also, we want this also. Only the gift, the giving of the gift by Baba or by any perfect master to his disciples, aspirants, comes at a very late stage. And he doesn't give it just anybody. And to us, what he will give, okay, roti, kapra, makan, that kind of thing. Naukri, chokri, tokri, whatever that we want, that he will give, okay, take it. What? Share some? It's a very vague question. Ask- no, no. Which Baba story? Okay, then Soumya will say some story.
know.
Come on now. You are a very good story. Yeah. Come on, say. So, one minute. Wayfarers know, because it is not a subject which public would be interested in, I feel. You may be. You may be. You are not public. But you are not public. You are not
She
public.
doesn't even know the
They are also not public. They are private. They are not public. Again, as I said, in principle, are we still on? Okay. I thought you had disconnected. Okay, okay. Somebody say, tell one story now. Anything, just tell any story. That she's a very good storyteller, actually.
No,
Ah,
it's
ah,
not a,
okay.
it's
Ah,
like I liked,
okay,
yeah,
Soumya.
this is a story
Now
which
she's
Baba,
saying, speak, let her speak.
this is a story which Baba said. Somebody had asked Baba how to live in this world, and Baba said that Moinu, no,
Janak.
Nizamuddin Aulia was sitting under the tree, and he was, Baba's now recounting this story, and he was sitting with his disciples. So the same question was asked by the disciples to the master, and he points out there were some women walking with pictures, like, with matka. So he says, like them. So the followers couldn't understand, the disciples couldn't understand. So Nizamuddin Aulia tells that these women have walked so far to get the water, and they're giggling, they're talking, they're gossiping, and when they're returning also, they've got their pitchers full of water, so well balanced. But all the time, their attention is on the pictures, that the water does not, a single drop of water falls. That means they're doing all of it, but all the time their mind is with the water. Similarly, we have to live in the world, but all the time our mind should be with our master. So this was a story which Baba had said, which I like very much.
Very good. Thank you. See, now she'll tell another story. She, she needs petrol. Huh? Story by
No.
some. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
SBS. Yeah.
no, sorry, Baba.
So is the person satisfied with the story? Okay, 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 okay. Baba message. There are so many messages which are, there's no, there's no favorite as such, frankly. Sorry?
Today.
What do you mean?
Today, which was a favorite message? Because you send every day.
Today, yeah, yeah. No. See, basically, yeah, okay, you are talking about the daily messages that I send out, yeah. Email.
Strikes you today.
I said one message, think of things that are, you will not hesitate to think in. That way, we are keeping Baba's companionship all the time, which is one of the very good messages. Yeah, what is it? Please, come, Mike, come here, otherwise. Come on the screen. Take this, take this.
Come.
Ah.
Wait, I'll remove my shoes. What do you want me to do?
Tell. Give her a chair.
It's
to
okay,
sit.
it's okay, it's okay. Don't worry. No, it's fine. So, I was reading this book yesterday, and I was thinking about this message, exactly what you said about not doing things which you don't want to, or think of things which you can't think in his presence. So, I was reading Rustam's book, and he asked Erich, he said, what do you have to say about it? Because I cannot do that, I don't want to do things, but how can I, what should I do? So he said that you invite him for everything. So he said, even of the things that I would not want to do in his presence, he said, He's always present. You are absent from his presence. And that's what has been going on in my mind. So he said, get aware of his presence, that he's already there, but you are absent from his presence. So
So
we
true.
don't have, so there is nothing that we can do without him or in his absence. We are going to do everything, even if it's something in worldly ways which we feel is bad. But it's not bad because he's going to be there. So it's
Yeah.
okay. Might as well
Yeah.
involve him or invite him into that
Yeah,
and keep getting aware of his presence and
So
not
true.
remain absent from his
Yeah,
presence.
Thank you so much for sharing. Beautiful.
Come on.
A similar thought I had conveyed, I think, 2 or 3 times in this forum, is once Baba had asked his mandali to just close their eyes and meditate for a minute or two and try to bring Baba's image here in the middle of your forehead, what you call between the two eyes. So people were there, some mandali members, and Baba said just for 2-3 minutes try to focus like that. And after 2-3 minutes, Baba clapped. Same thing what you are saying, Baba
there,
clapped and said, Baba said just for 2-3 minutes, Francis Brabazon, who was from Australia, uh, what was your experience? So Francis says, Baba, you come and go. You come and go. Baba smiled and said, no. It is you who come and go. I am always there. I am always there. So what you said is very profound, that there is no time, there is no place where Baba is not there. Earlier also, a few sessions before, the moment we feel that we don't feel Baba's presence, that means it is not that Baba is not there, but we have given ourselves more importance, we have put ourselves in between, and that is why we don't experience his presence, but he is always there. There has never been a time. Similarly, when somebody asks about Baba's grace,
Even depression is that, no?
yeah, I'll talk about it. Baba's grace. Baba says, my grace is always flowing. It is not that I am directing it to A, B, C, D. It is always flowing everywhere. It is you who is inhibiting, who is not open to receiving my grace. Because of whatever, because of illusion, because of ignorance, because of self-centeredness. Like Soumya just now prompted that we talked about depression. Well, one of the aspects, but it could be a medical depression also with some chemical locha, as we call it, so that can also create depression. But most of the time, the only remedy or the very profound remedy for any depression is you go out and help others. That's about all. Because depression basically means you are thinking too much about your own self in a negative way. So that means that I is so pronounced. The moment you think about the well-being and the goodness of others, it may not necessarily be a human being. It could be a dog, it could be a cat, it could be earth, it could be the surrounding, the nature, plants, anything. The moment you do that, the understanding is that your depression will go away, because depression is directly proportionate to how much you are thinking about your own I. I am unloved, nobody, all that brooding and weeping and wailing, it creates a depression. Is that all? No further questions? Okay. So once again, so before we end, once again, a sincere thank you to beloved Baba for giving us this platform. And of course, besides thanking all of you, thanking the trustees responsible for giving us this platform. I don't want to name, but why should I not name? Johan is one of them, Gopi is another, and Mayor Prasad Raju. Because Mayor Prasad Raju is in charge of MPR, Gopi is in charge of online, the trust website, and Johan was the one who initiated this. And special thanks to Rakesh, because he's been after me to get these sessions running. So I said, well, if the trustees give the permission, I am game, I am okay with that. So thank you. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Thanks, beloved Baba. Jai Baba.